You, Jill. Well, I think we've gotten all of our logistics out of the way. Just one more reminder for everyone else to mute themselves, except for Verity, because Verity is the person we have come to hear today. And thank you so much for joining us. I have this lovely introduction, which I'm going to attempt not to butcher. As the Toastmasters 2021 world champion, Verity captured the judges and thousands of people's imagination with her winning speech, A Great Read, an inspiring invitation to improve our lives by writing a different story. Helping people do just that is Verity's passion. Today, as we celebrate the 98th anniversary of Toastmasters International's beginnings, Verity will help us rediscover and reconnect by providing motivating feedback, presenting Evaluate to Elevate, 2021 World Champion of Public Speaking, Verity Price.
Thank you so much, Alex, and just so wonderful to be here, reflecting on that. I've only been a member of 98 years of Toastmasters for 11 short years. So I look forward to whatever comes and just really sharing this time with you, because today for me is writing a different story about how we give feedback and how we evaluate. So before I bring up slides and all those things, I want to ask some questions and get the chat going and make this a nice interactive experience. So my first question, and you can just put a yes or a no to this question, is have you ever received feedback on a speech that just took your energy, your confidence, and your courage to stand up and speak again to the next level? That feedback improved you, it made you grow as a speaker, it stretched you, and you were better the next time you spoke. Okay, I see lots of yeses. Fantastic. Okay, next question. Have you ever received feedback that was lovely, you know, that kind of maybe recapped the speech a little bit, told you what you did well, but at the end of it, there was nothing that you could really apply and you didn't feel that it grew you as a speaker at all? So I see some yeses coming in. We've received absolutely, mostly, oh yes, okay. I'm hoping most people are going to say no to the next question, but let's see what happens. Have you ever received feedback that when the speaker finished evaluating your speech, your confidence was crushed and you just didn't actually want to come back and ever speak again? So I just, oh no, okay, good. There's some no's, but there are some yeses. I see some no's, thankfully. Okay. Whew. Because in the 11 years I've been in Toastmasters, I've seen there are 3 types of evaluations we receive. Luckily, there are evaluations that elevate the speaker. They elevate them to become better as a result of the feedback they've received. Not so luckily, there are evaluations that equalize the speaker. Nothing changes as a result of that feedback. And unluckily, there are evaluations that eliminate a speaker's potential completely. Now, I've been fortunate enough to witness many evaluations that elevated the speakers in the clubs that I've visited and that I've been a member of. Unluckily, I've seen far too many evaluations that just equalized people's speaking abilities and nothing changed as a result. And often those clubs, no one seemed to be growing. And luckily, I've only ever personally witnessed 3 evaluations that eliminated someone's courage and confidence. I say I'm lucky because I'm really grateful I haven't seen more than those, but the 2 that I witnessed, I saw both those members leave Toastmasters and not come back, and it was really hard to watch. And the one I experienced was when I was practicing for the world semifinals. I'd made the top 28 in the world, and it was still nervous to go and, you know, do my speeches for clubs around the world. And I received feedback that saw me not get out of bed the next day. I did not want to keep competing. I had to dig deep. So that's why I want to make sure that every time we give feedback, we are evaluating to elevate. So let's get on that journey and see where it takes us. All right. And I'm so excited that people are going to be giving evaluations. So this is really practical. And often when people say to me, Verity, you know, what do you think is the one thing that helped you become a champion speaker? And I'll say to them, becoming a champion evaluator first. So I want to take you through my journey of understanding how to really nail evaluations. And I hope it's going to elevate your ability to give feedback. So let's dive straight into it, because an evaluation at the end of the day is not about you. It is all about the speaker. It is about their speech. And most importantly, it's actually not really about their content. I've always said to people, you can give an evaluation on a speech that you disagree with. They can have spoken about content that maybe offends you, but you could still give them a good evaluation on how they delivered that content. It's all right to put in there that it wasn't a match for you, but we're not there to get caught up in the content. We're there to look at how they delivered and what worked about it and what could be improved. So this is why I believe so many world champions are also champion evaluators first, because once you've understood the ins and outs of great speaking and great speeches, it's very easy to apply it to your own speeches. So I'm going to take you through the nuts and bolts. I'm sure you know a lot of this already, but these are what we're looking out for when we're giving feedback. So let's start right at the beginning. First thing that we can pay attention to is the structure. And I'm always listening, whether I'm coaching someone or giving feedback at a meeting. Let's look at their opening and their closing. Was it a powerful opening? Did they grab attention? Did they get the audience with them in their first 30 seconds? Because that's all we've got to grab people's attention. And when they finished, was their closing powerful? Did it make sense of everything they'd said? Did it perhaps tie back to their introduction so that we had this full rounded experience of that was an amazing speech? And right in the middle, we can focus on the body. Could I follow their ideas? Did they transition simply and powerfully between different concepts? And could I follow what they were saying? So structure is always a great thing to focus on. If the structure is great and perhaps there's other great things, and we're going to go through some of the other elements, you might not focus a lot on here, but with new speakers that are starting out, this is often where we can give feedback that elevates someone so that they can structure their next speech more powerfully and can have confidence to open with engaging questions or audience interactions and to close with, you know, a powerful statement. So structure is a big one to look at. Then for me, message just gives us so much food for thought. First of all, what was the general purpose of them standing up to speak? Those of you who remember the legacy program of Toastmasters will know that a general purpose is either to inspire, inform, entertain, or educate. And if you can look at finding what that is, that actually helps you with your introduction. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for entertaining us. Thank you for persuading us. So look for that general purpose. And if you can quickly make a note of what kind of speech is this, that's going to help you with your feedback. But then most importantly is, what is their specific message? Their 10 words or less of how people, what they can do when they walk away from it. Again, if it's not there, you can give feedback on it. If it is there, you can talk about what worked. Next, gestures, body language, eye contact, use of stage. Now, with great speakers, a lot of this is happening, and we don't want to whitewash. We actually want to go, I love that, but I saw a few areas you could improve. With new speakers, we can show them how they could have used their stage or their screen differently. We can give them tips on how to improve eye contact or how to make their body language more authentic and more natural. Language. There's so much room to play with here. I'm always listening out for, could they have used a metaphor? Did they use a great simile? Why did that strengthen the speech? Where had they used repetition, or where could more repetition of a powerful phrase have strengthened their delivery? Did they use story? Were there analogies? Were there triplets? Were there alliteration? I mean, this for me is where great speeches often begin and end, is in the way people paint pictures with their words. And so often, if you listen to, I was there at my grandmother's house, and they carry on with the story, you might actually go, hang on, you didn't tell me what she looked like. You didn't give me a sense of what the whole place looked and smelt and felt like. And you can give them suggestions on how to make their language more vivid. So language, there's always so much we can look for. Then there's the voice, the pitch, the volume, timing, pace, and one of my favorites, characterization. Some people do this well, their voice changes, they become that other character, and other people miss the opportunity completely. So if you're listening out for opportunities for characterization to strengthen a scene and enhance it, that can make such a big difference in the feedback that you give. And then last but not least, their delivery, their humor, their authenticity, their passion. So you're often going to have speakers who might score high on this, but their structure was missing. So you've got one thing that you can really say, that was amazing, but technically let's work on this. Other people, there might be many of these aspects that are missing. So our job as an evaluator is to be listening to that speech as a whole and seeing what stands out for us. So this is a lot to look out for, I know. How do you structure all that when you've only had 5 to 7 minutes to listen? In a contest, you've only been given 5 minutes to write your notes. How do you structure it so that the speaker receives it, remembers it, and then applies it to their next speech? This is my little way that I do it. I call it the hamburger evaluation. We call it, a lot of people call it a feedback sandwich. For some reason, I love hamburgers, so we're going with hamburgers today. And I find the way you structure an evaluation is going to make the difference between winning and losing in a contest space, but also winning or losing the confidence of a speaker at a club and making them confident to come back. So the first thing we're needing to do is have an attention-grabbing introduction that is related to their speech or message. Again, I said it's not about you, it's about the speaker. So I'm always listening out for, did they have a really fun catchphrase? Was their message so strong that I can start with, thank you for inspiring us to whatever, always say, I love you to the people that are important to us. I can use that in my introduction. So it's about paying attention to what they've said that you can start your evaluation on a high. Now you get into the meat of it, and this is where we really need to critically analyze their speech. And it really helps to follow a format of strengths. This is what you did well. This is why it worked. Here are examples from what you did. If I say you have great humor, give an example of the joke. If you say you had great body language, illustrate what they did that worked. They need to see it so that they can receive it. Then we go into areas to improve. This is subjective. So it's coming from, I noticed that you tended to only favor this side of the audience. Next time, remember to look at all of us. So couple your area of improvement with a suggestion and take them through the 2 or 3 things they could do to elevate their next speech, but make sure you only give an area of improvement if you can give a suggestion to improve it. I always say, if you can see the problem, but you can't give the solution, you are not qualified to be criticizing yet, if that makes sense. And then last but not least, and this for me is critical to ensure that they remember what you've said, is to summarize it. So in summary, remember to work on these 3 things, but please keep up these 3 things, okay, so that they can really quickly recall what it is that you've told them. And then right at the end, you need a powerful conclusion. You need to end off on a high, and you need to leave everyone feeling like, yes, we want to do this. So I always, again, like my introduction for an evaluation, I'm listening to what the speaker has said that I can call back to in my conclusion that really leaves them feeling like, wow, you really heard me. Okay, so this is the format that I follow. It is the format that the judges follow in evaluations contests. They want to feel the strengths, the areas to improve, the suggestions, and the summary. But what makes you a champion evaluator, I believe, is having that attention-grabbing introduction and that powerful conclusion. So how do we do this? How do we map this all out in the moment, like some of our test evaluators are going to do today? How do we do that? Well, in 2015, when I was competing at the District 74 evaluations contest, I came up with a little framework that would help me capture my thoughts on the day. And it looks a little something like this. And you can try it. I know it's been popped in the chat as well, or you can just draw it on a piece of paper. Blank piece of paper, I do 4 boxes. And 1 box, I'm going to write down all the strengths with examples. One box, areas to improve and suggestions, so I can move between those two boxes. And then I have a summary box, because if I don't put it there, I'm going to forget to summarize. Bottom line, I will forget to summarize if I don't remind myself. And I even put in there, remember to keep up, because I want to finish with strengths. And then I put a trigger to remember to write an opening remark and to write a closing remark. So often in evaluations, I see people just focus on the meat of the evaluation, which is great. It's adding value, but I don't think that gives you the opportunity to really present powerfully. And so planning an introduction and conclusion, because this is a mini speech, is a really fantastic way to make sure that you're getting it across. So I'm going to tell you a little story, and then I'd like to actually share with you the evaluation that I did back in 2015 when I was competing for district. I had been knocked out at division level in the international speech contest. And so I was a bit disappointed, but I was progressing with evaluations. And I found myself backstage at this huge district conference, 300 people in the room, having just watched a fantastic demo speaker who had been quite nervous. As you can imagine, you're at a district event being the demo speaker, and you're going to get 10 people like we are today giving feedback. And I had written notes furiously, and I was now backstage. You know, they'd taken my notes away. I was trying to remember everything I wanted to say, and I could just feel my heart pounding. And as I was being called into the room and they'd mic'd me up, and I was thinking, come on, why did I ever agree to do this? I don't want to compete. This is ridiculous. Just before I went on stage, it was like this little voice whispered and said, Verity, this is not about you. This is about Keta, that brave man that just did a speech, and he's going to get feedback from 10 people. And if you can give him one bit of advice that helps him become a better speaker as a result of his courage today, that's all you need to worry about. It was such a moment. It put it all into perspective. It took my ego out of the equation. It let me get up on the stage with my nerves, but also with the conviction that I was there to give him something that would be valuable to him. And I spoke from the heart. I looked at structure, I looked at body language, I looked at his voice, all the things I've taken you through. Like, I'd really try to give him feedback on what I believed would elevate his speaking. And of course, with an evaluations contest, you don't know how your other contestants have done. So I had no sense of where I had placed. And when I heard I'd won, I was over the moon. But I was particularly over the moon when Keta came to me afterwards and said how much the evaluation had helped him. And so I want to show you that little 3-minute evaluation, because I want you to look at this framework and see how it comes to life in a real life evaluation. Now, we don't have time for me to show you his speech as well, unfortunately, but I'll give you a little bit of context so you get a sense of the speech, and then you can just see how I go through introduction drawn from his speech, strengths with examples, areas to improve with suggestions, a summary, and a closing remark taken from his speech. His speech was called This Crazy Little Thing Called Love. It was a delightful speech, but before he started, they called him on stage, and then something went wrong with the sound and the projector, and this poor young man was left standing while the district team tried to fix it. And I remember watching him and paying attention from the moment he went on stage. And I think it gave me a bit of a competitive advantage, because I was the only evaluator that spoke about what he did before he started speaking. So again, be paying attention. Pay attention to how someone walks up. Is there something you can tell them that's going to strengthen their next speech? He then went on this hilarious roller coaster ride of what men do when they fall in love with women, the crazy things they do. And it was very humorous. It was very relatable. He tried to sing the song Crazy Little Thing Called Love. He did lots of things about how men will lie to their wife that her bum doesn't look fat in those jeans. It was very relatable. And so as you listen to my evaluation, and I'm just going to share again, because I think I forgot to share with sound, as you watch it, just listen to how I'm going using his speech for my introduction, giving this very specific framework of making sure he gets the critical feedback he needs to improve his next speech, and how I take something from his speech for my closing remarks. So let's have a look at it, and then it's going to be over to our evaluators to practice.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and Keta, I loved your speech. Thank you for a vivid and relatable topic. I think all of us have had something to do with this crazy little thing called love. But there were things that really stood out for me, Keta, and the first was before you opened your mouth. You stood up here with poise and presence while a technical glitch went on around you. And I think you won the audience before you said a word. And then when you started speaking, I discovered that we had a word wizard in our midst. From rhyme, you had the imagination and exaggeration. You spoke about, let me explain, as we walk down memory lane. You used this beautiful speaker's triplet of seek it, nurture it, strike again. Beautiful language that painted pictures that we could all see and imagine. But what I loved was you didn't just paint pictures with your words, you painted pictures with your body. And you had that longing for love and the yearning. And then you used body language to add to your humor. And you had humor in bucket loads. And when you started having the conversation with your lady, that awkward conversation I think all men have gone through, you really painted that picture and then added to the humor with a phew. So that was fantastic, and I really want to commend you for that. The things that I think you could work on, there was 3 things, and they're not huge, Keta, but the one is you use these beautiful words and you had great vocal variety, but you have quite a gentle voice. And at times, I don't know if everyone could hear you. And so my suggestion is when you speak in a room like this, come and do quite a long mic practice and ask your mentor to stand at the back of the room and see how you're projecting and help them push that. Okay, so that's something I think you could work on. The other thing was I loved that you brought the song in. We all know the song, which was fantastic, but I felt like you suddenly lost a little bit of confidence, like I'm standing up here and I'm singing. This thing called love, like I just want to get this bit over with my speech. There was a chance to own that, because that really added to your speech. So you could have even interacted with us. This thing called love, you know, you really could have gone for it. So next time, go for it, own it, because you deserve to be on this stage. And that brings me to my last point and recommendation and thing I think you could work on is your speech was relevant to us and you kept asking these great questions. Would you die for love? Would you lose everything for love? But you didn't give the audience a chance to respond. And you work us, that's your chance. Would you die for love? And if they don't say anything, you go, would you die for love? Would you? Okay, come on. I mean, then you really get them going. But those were opportunities I felt that you missed and you could work on. But in summation, just work the mic to understand and compensate for the gentleness of your voice so that you can add volume to it. Interact with your audience. Commit to the brave things like putting a song into your speech. Keep up your humor. Keep up your body language. Keep up your word wizardry. And when it comes to this crazy little thing called speech making, seek it, nurture it, and please strike again. Thank you.
Okay. So I hope that illustrated the approach that I spoke about, and you're going to be able to practice it today as we go into this practical experience of evaluating to elevate. Just as a reminder to take into this session, make it about the speaker, not about you. Make it about the speech, not always about the content. Look for their message so you can use it in your introduction. Don't get caught on the content, focus on how they delivered. You're only going to be able to do 3 to 4 points and give them clear and useful feedback on those points. Rather strengthen a few things than try to speak about a lot of things. Always follow the format of strengths, areas to improve with suggestions and a summary, and look for phrases or ideas in their speech that are going to help you close powerfully. And to help you do that and to make sure you capture your thoughts, please use this template. I know you've got it in the chat, or you can have written up your own one. But I really hope it's going to help the way you listen, the way you analytically capture what's working and what could improve. And so that when you give your feedback, it's a pleasure for them to receive. And you know that you have elevated their skills to another level. Okay, let's get into this.
I'd like to bring Jill up to the stage just for a little moment so that we can close everything out. I also want to go ahead and thank some of my club members today. I want to thank Jill for being our timer, and Linda for our Sergeant at Arms, and AJ taking care of everything behind the scenes, helping to set everything up, Prince as well. Also want to thank all of our evaluators. Gosh, I mean, this could be a real challenge, and you all showed up and put in and learn to grow, and appreciate your willingness, your courage to do that. JP, thank you so much for allowing us to do this with the district. Really appreciate everything that you and the trio are doing today. Morag, thank you for being here as well. It is always an honor and a privilege to have folks from international who come to the clubs and to interact with us, to help us learn, to help us grow, and to help us be inspired. And Verity, thank you for taking us on your journey as well, because this has been a fantastic hour and a half actually. And this is something that we always try to do in peak performance. We try to challenge ourselves. I'm feeling challenged right now, but being able to take that chance to learn, to grow, to elevate ourselves, to take ourselves to the peak. Now, Jill is one of our newest members. And Jill, what have you gotten back from peak performance that has really helped you grow and learn?
Very quickly, I'd like to say it is so easy in this world to live within a bubble. Even though we have access to the internet and access to the world, it's easy to live in this bubble where you're in this constant loop of hearing the same message. By joining this particular club, you get to hear voices from outside of your bubble. This is what I've gained the most, and I am grateful for being here.
Thanks, Jill. Now, that's one of the things that we do at Peak, is that we really want to practice that feedback. We want to be able to give back to our members and the community. And I want to invite everyone here to come to our next meeting, which is going to be on the 12th of November. The website should be linked to there. And I think we may have a speaking spot or two open. So if anybody wants to come to Peak and practice a longer speech, or just get a lot of feedback from a number of folks, because we don't just simply have one evaluator. We have a lead coach, and we have multiple voices to give you additional feedback so that you can really hear from a number of really strong evaluators, a couple of whom you've heard today. So I encourage all of you to come to Peak Performance. Feel free to reach out to us. We're very happy. We're here to help. We've helped a number of people with coaching sessions as they're preparing for their contest, and we would love to help you. Now, this is not the last thing that is involved in the celebration of 98th year of Toastmasters. There is another event happening in about 3 hours, I believe, a hybrid live event from California. I hope that all of you can go and join that particular event too. And again, thank you to everyone who came and participated, who did things behind the scenes that none of us were able to see your efforts, but we do fully appreciate it. And most of all, we appreciate Morag, Verity. Thank you for coming to this Peak Performance meeting today. Thank you so very much.
JP Bachman, could you please close us out? District Director from District 26, JP Bachman, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, so much. Our deep gratitude goes out to International President-elect Matheson and World Champion of Public Speaking Price. The fact that you joined us at this late hour for your time zones to join us and give us such valuable information. To all of our evaluators today, wonderful evaluations. Thank you so much. And to Peak Performance for everything that you've done to set this up. from the virtual backgrounds to the way the agenda was laid out to communicating this to everybody and to allowing District 26 to help you advertise this. This was such a wonderfully crafted event. Thank you to everybody who put in work behind the scenes for this. And I wouldn't be right to not emphasize what Alex said. Please join Peak Performance in their next meeting. There are many virtual clubs. Peak Performance obviously is doing fantastic work. So please join another club because it will enrich you that much further and it will expand your bubble, your network, the number of people who you can call friend. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. And to those in India, happy Diwali.